Can this 20-year single malt from down under make me a malt fan? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's go. Welcome back to Old Fashioned Ways Plus. I'm Doc Martinez, and today I have here a very special and rare whiskey. This rare here caught my attention and was on sale, so I said, why not? So I'm gonna open this up, pour some out, and talk a little bit about this bottle. All right, time to pop this open. Ooh, nice pop. All right, let's pour some out. Make sure it's a good amount pour. Beautiful sound. Always love that sound. This is a nice heavy top, and one interesting thing is I did not know this was from Playboy. I thought Rare Hare was just because it was rare. The name is a tribute to Shakespeare's The Tempest. This expression channels the narrative of natural force and elegant transformation reflected in every sip. In its quest to deliver its fourth ultra premium release, Rare Hare partnered with one of the pioneers of Tasmanian whiskey making, the acclaimed Heller's Road Distillery, one of Australia's oldest and most revered distilleries. At its foundation is locally sourced malted barley, nurtured by Tasmanian rich soil and coastal air. The spirit undergoes 2-day distillation using traditional wash stills, followed by a slow spirit distillation, enhancing purity, depth, and complexity. Now, where others rush maturation in small casks, the Tempest waits. Heller's Road Distillery aged this whiskey for 17 years in standard-sized bourbon cask, and then aged it for another 3 years in port cask, yielding extraordinary structure, balance, and finesse. As you know, anytime I do a review, I want to share. So if you're interested in winning a sample of this, stay tuned to find out how. This is the way. All right, enough talk. Let's get into the bottle. Bottle details. Rare Hare Tempest. Classification: a Tasmanian single malt whiskey. Distillery: Heller's Road Distillery. Bottled by Playboy Spirits. Release date: 2024. Proof on this is 82 proof, making it 41% ABV. Age: 20 years. Finish: port cask. Mashbill: 100% local malted barley. MSRP on this: $999 for 700 ml. Anytime I do a review, I do a scale of 1 to 10 on aroma, flavors, complexity, mouthfeel, finish, and of course, would I buy again? All right, let's get into the fun part. Let's first look at this. So something for 20 years, it is a little bit lighter than I thought it would be. You think something that would be for 20 years would be a little bit darker, but it is only 82 proof, so I don't know how much that watering down lightened this, right? But it is a good dark golden color, so it has some nice color to it. Let's see. Swirl it on this glass. Ooh, it kind of runs down this glass kind of quickly. So it doesn't look very viscous on the glass, but it's coming down pretty quickly. Sometimes that might be something the glass was washed with, so not too sure on that. And by the way, I'm using my friend's whacked out glass. This is from RJ the Feds group. So, all right, let's go in for the first one. Aroma. Let's go in for that aroma. Very malt smelling, right? Very citrus. That malt just kind of hits that nose and just kind of takes over. It's nice and light, and even with malt, and I'm not a big malt fan, right? It is actually a nice aroma on the nose for a malt. Got a little bit of citrus in the background, a little bit of sweetness, kind of a little nougat kind of nose back there. But I mean, the nose is nice, light, fresh. It feels very fresh, but it smells like a malt. Kind of smells a little bit fruitier on that one when I did that one. Kind of malty. I mean, best way to describe it. So for aroma, I'm actually going to give that a 7. Now, flavors. My initial taste on this. I'm excited about this one. All right. This one has a little bit of bitterness that kind of hits there. So it starts off light, kind of a little bitterness in the middle, and then kind of gets a little bit sweet. So it goes from a light, like just really fresh over the tongue, then kind of gets a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of apricot in there, so a little bit of fruitiness, and then a little bit of sweetness. And the sweetness is probably that kind of like a fruity kind of taste, because it's not like a sweet like a vanilla or caramel, but it's like a sweetness like a fruit. Probably the best way to like the apricot is that sweetness there. A little bit light on the tongue, so I'm gonna give that a 7. I'm gonna go in for that next string, complexity. How does it evolve on the tongue? That's better. A little bit more opened up. Now I'm getting a little bit of a hint of vanilla in there. The apricot's still there, which is nice. A little bit of a more acidic flavor in the background. What is that? It's kind of like a hint of overripe pineapple. Yeah, a hint of overripe pineapple, a hint of bacon spices. So it kind of tastes like pineapple with a little bit of baking spice on it, but you do still have that apricot in the beginning. It's actually sticking to the tongue nicely. So we'll talk about that in a minute here. But for that complexity, I did like that evolution. It did change on me. It did kind of go through a little bit more and have more flavor. So I'm going to give that an 8. Mouthfeel, thickness, and viscosity. And more of that fruit's coming through. More of that fruit's coming through for sure. But for mouthfeel, thickness, and viscosity. Now, it didn't stick to the glass very well. And that was kind of, I was a little worried about that. But as I put it in my mouth, it doesn't stick to the tip of the tongue, but the mid and the roof of my mouth, it stays. The back of my throat, not so much. I'm getting a little hug, a little bit of warming coming on, but not a whole bunch of that either. But I gotta say that it stays. From that first drink to now, I have a hint of that malty flavor just staying in the mouth. And I don't drink enough malt to know, is that what malts do? That they stay there for a while. I think that if they would have bumped this up, it's 82 proof. If they would have bumped this up to maybe 90, I think that flavor would have been there like nice and strong. But it's a hint. It's a good hint. It's not like it's fading quickly. It's still there, and it just stays there. It's a little bit soft on the tongue, but it's nice. It's not overpowered. It's not a malt that's overpowering my tongue. So somebody who's not a malt drinker, I'm actually enjoying that it's lingering there. So for this thickness and viscosity, I'm actually going to give that an 8 as well. Finish. I kind of was talking about that when I was talking about that mouthfeel, how this kept staying and staying. So see, take that drink, soft, refreshing apricot, just, goes through. And now there's actually a little bit of a citrus, some spiciness in there. I'm actually, for somebody who does not drink really a lot of malts and is trying to expand his palate, I'm actually liking the way this just stays there. As I said, it's a nice finish that stays, doesn't overpower, kind of just coats that mid and upper, but just stays there with a nice strong hint of it. And it just stays and keeps going on and on. So for that, I'm actually going to give that an 8.2. Next drink, would I buy again? I'm enjoying this one. I'm enjoying that it's a malt that's not just slapping me with that malt flavor. And I'm liking that refreshing taste and how it just lingers on the mouth. I'm liking all that. And this bottle retails for $9.99. Now, I didn't pay anywhere close to that. I got this on sale, and a really, really good sale. I was afraid that if I wouldn't have ordered from this place before, I would have been afraid that it was one of those places that was just taking money from you. But I had ordered from them before, and I've gotten all of my bottles I've ordered, so I took a chance, got it, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did because I get to taste this, and it's just something different to me. It's something that I normally wouldn't do. But for $9.99, I wouldn't buy it again. $200, maybe $250 bottle. Now, malt drinkers out there might disagree with me, and they might be like, "No, that's a lot better than it's a 20-year. You need to be paying more for that." But for me, that's just too much money. It's just too much money for a bottle, and I'm glad I didn't pay that $9.99. With all that being said, no, I'm gonna give that a 4. So my total score for this was 42.2 out of 60. Honestly, I'm enjoying this drink. I just think the price for it is a lot, but if I could find this, as I said, cheaper, probably 200. It's probably the max. Thinking about it, 200 is probably the max I would pay for this, and I would enjoy sipping on this, especially having friends over, a special occasion, maybe even a cigar with this. I bet some of my malt friends out there would love to taste this and would think different than I do. I think it's a good pour. I'm enjoying it, and that's because I don't drink malt whiskeys or single malt whiskeys, but overall good pour. I just think the price is not, I think you're paying more because they're calling it Rare Hare and it's a Playboy edition, which I didn't know that. Overall, I'm glad I got to try it. Now, how can you possibly win a sample? If you have not, please go hit that like button and subscribe. Also, have you ever bought a Rare Hare? They have some regular ones and some higher editions, and this is one out of their higher edition part of it. And if you haven't, what's the most unique whiskey you ever bought or tried? I'm very curious. Is there something out there that I should be hunting and looking for to try as well? So let me know in the comments below, what is your most unique whiskey that you've ever bought or tried? Also in the comments below, at #Tempest. #Tempest. Well, my friends, thank you for joining me on another journey down my whiskey rabbit hole. Till our next journey, my friends, cheers. The name, is this called Tempest or Temptress? Tempest. Okay.